How we doing, coin traders? Thanks for joining me. Happy Sunday. Looking at Solana, SOL on that ticker, the big powerhouse name right now, sitting below BNB in market cap. So definitely one of the top cryptos right now. Obviously has the spotlight and hype, especially after such a big run up right now, breaking the $200 psychological level, which isn't too much compared to what we actually got to on the previous cycle high. So we are expecting to see a lot more out of Solana, kind of similar to what we saw out of Cardano having the big run and hype. So we are expecting that type of a name this cycle. So this pullback is nothing out of the abnormal situation and setups here. But right now, especially after such big gains coming off of the fall, over 800%, so about a 10x return on that. So from the low, looking below the $20 level at about 18, topping out at a current trend high right now, sitting at 209.90, so just shy of the 210 mark. And if we do look at a pullback right now, we are sitting from the current trend high down to the low that we bounced off of at 122, about 42% pullback. So this is significant, very nice level of support coming in right now, because if we actually look at a price level for that, kind of right around the 125 mark, previous point of resistance before this pullback, very nice consolidation kicking off the 50, breaking this, back testing this level, as well as the 12-period EMA before finally running up. So now on this pullback, big point of support. So whether or not we actually don't see follow through and a return to the 125 level, we will see if we can't find some support on that. But next for support, we're actually going to be looking at not the 125, just above that though, we're going to be looking at about the 135, another big point of support. So we actually have a very strong zone here. And this is very important because we talk frequently about how when we do have periods where we do sit sideways, confirm supports and resistances, and create this zone, this allows us to be extremely strong support when we do have our return and retracement. So especially after such a big period of a run-up, so flipping over to the weekly, for example, knew that a retracement was inevitable, and especially after we failed to get an established pattern and trend, we were seeing rejection just barely above the $200 psychological level. So big point of rejection and now a return to the 12-period EMA, finding nice support on top of it right now. So the weekly did just close for Solana and the rest of crypto. So we are looking at a close of 151.44 compared to 147.61 on this EMA. So as you can see, this has pretty much been the first major back test where we actually saw substantial wicking below to test the zone between 12 and 26 on this exponential moving average. Like we mentioned though, big zone of support that did hold up. So we do have a very nice lower shadow on this candle. So if we actually look at the magnitude of the size of this shadow, looks like it's kind of about the same size as the body of this candle. So that's still a very good sign as well, showing a lot of dip buying and maintaining that close on top of this key support level that we have been holding ever since getting our bullish cross and flip. So what's actually important about this too is a significant back test to confirm, and we always do end up seeing these type of patterns. So the only major one we have had, and this was an extremely quick test, was back here on the candle that formed on the 22nd of January. Now we did get kind of another test, but we didn't actually get a full test, still an air gap. So now we are going to see whether or not we can get continuation and follow through in order to confirm holding this level of support. So zooming out on this weekly, you can see how looking left, big period of resistance on this bounce as well. And then looking left, kind of the heart line of consolidation before running up to the current all-time high right now for Solana, which again does sit at 260 right now. So huge potential for a lot more gains, especially topping the all-time high. So extremely nice run, especially after bouncing off and finding our bottom due to all the FTX instances back here at the end of 2022. Now on this weekly, the initial run-up was a lot stronger as indicated by a lot of this volume. So we actually saw a lot of bull volume come in and continuation, but actually saw a decrease until we kicked off the 12-period EMA. Saw 3 weeks of increasing week over week volume, but as you can see after that, we actually saw a huge taper off and decline. Significantly, though, the selling pressure hasn't been that significant. A lot of crypto has been pulling back right now, especially in limbo, waiting for the nice Bitcoin halving to confirm what it's going to do from its consolidation point as well. Now on the weekly, if we do actually see bears maintain control and push prices down, the zone that we were talking about from 125 to about 135 is going to be an extremely nice point because like we talked about, very nice opportunities for this exponential to 26 specifically to actually run up into the zone as well. And then looking left, like we have big point of support, and then kind of even in this instance, a little bit of rejection kind of forming that resistance as well. Below the 125, we are going to be looking down about the 113 to about 115. So that's going to be another strong zone of support as well. So plenty of opportunities to not mess up this weekly trend, but still see a pullback down to basically the 115, just above the $100 psychological level. And so even pulling up technical indicators for this weekly right now, still seeing decreasing higher highs on this. So we're still looking at increasing higher highs, decreasing higher highs, or excuse me, decreasing highs on the RSI. So big period of retracement and pullback needed. And as you can see, there's not really much support until where we're at right now, basically right at the 58 line. So I would expect to actually see this be a little bit more of that indication, especially since we are looking at support levels coming in. So we could be looking at some sideways or even potentially another run up if we do get a little bit more of that bullish volume because we are seeing selling pressure fade. Down on stochastic RSI, we are looking at a potential for having all of the stochastic RSI get down below the 20 line to form that nice bullish cross. So even in this last instance on this most recent trend high, we didn't even get close to breaking this 80 line. So we were pretty much looking at right above the 60 line here for the high before we actually crossed over and saw a bearish flip to return and retrace to put us below that 20 line for the stochastic RSI anyway. Turning on VPVR, volume profile visible range for the weekly, you can look over here on the right, and we're actually looking at sitting pretty much on top of this big point of mass before getting all the way down to the $100 psychological level. Below that's going to be this big period of accumulation, so we're not focused on that at all, and that's why this 150 level is pretty much so significant and why we are trying to hold that price point at this moment. So the good thing is that if we actually look at this, you can see just how much the zone actually does form for mass. So a lot of previous price trading in that would expect that zone to hold for support. If it doesn't, I would be surprised, and that probably means a lot worse things are going on for the crypto space right now. So do want to turn to the daily right now and look at technical indicators for the daily. So specifically looking at the RSI right now, we are looking at the lowest level that the RSI has been at since before the big cycle started back in the fall. So if we actually draw a horizontal level, we're looking at 31.55, which is pretty much right in line. It's actually a little bit slightly lower, 30.97. So if we look left, yeah, that is pretty much right around the level, and before that was extremely oversold. So leading up to these two moments, that's pretty much what kickstarted this nice bullish action. So this is the lowest that we have seen since then. And when we are in strong trends and up bullish action price charts, we do know that oversold indicators, even though this isn't fully oversold yet, this is the lowest the RSI has been since the start of the trend, that this is a lot more of a relevant indicator than we do have overbought indications that the trend will end just because it is so far overextended. So the reverse is true in opposite markets. So in bear markets, overbought indicators will be a lot more relevant that a retracement is coming compared to oversold indicators. If that concept doesn't necessarily make sense, drop a note in the comments sections below and I'll be happy to explain it. Or go ahead and shoot me a message over on Twitter or X as well. @coin_trades is the handle over there. Looking at stochastic RSI now as well, this is the longest and most sustained period that we have seen where the stochastic RSI actually crossed the 20 line and pretty much maintained this level until we actually saw a retracement and return over the 80 line. So this is the longest that we have seen stochastic RSI basically stay in this point without a bullish action pushing it forward on top of the 80 line. So that's a much more significant indication as well. Now, do want to look at a Fibonacci retracement. Going to do this from two different levels, pretty much from the low right at the $100 psychological level up to the current high right now at 210. You can see how we had a very nice retracement kicking off the 78.6, which is pretty much the lowest that we ever expected to go in order to maintain a longer term bullish uptrend. Realistically, we are looking at the 61.8 as a very nice target, but the 78.6 is obviously always a downside target for crypto pullbacks just due to the volatility. So next, actually going to look down from the low at about 78, which was kind of more of the longer term low for this mini trend here. So if we look at that as a point of starting the Fibonacci retracement still up to the 210, then we can look back and find very nice support coming in right at that 61.8% target like we talked about, which right now is at 128.49. So hopefully if we can maintain a close on top of this and see further price action to the upside, that's going to be a nice indication. Still going to be a lot of price level resistance coming in just above the $200 level though, so not necessarily expecting a new higher high in that instance. Are going to be finding big resistances on top of that though, pretty much coming in right at the 170 line as well, which if we do look at these exponential moving averages is going to be a big point of resistance and form a pretty big zone in this instance as well, especially looking at the 38.2 as a big resistance at 159.69, so kind of right at that 160 mark. But if we do end up getting above those levels, then I would expect, and this is pretty much what's going to happen, especially if we do see increasing bullish volume, forming this nice V-shaped recovery, reclaiming those levels and hopefully flipping them back into support before returning back to test the 203 and all the way up to the 210 level before forming a new trend high, running up to see if we can break a new all-time high above that 260 line. So plenty of things to be looking at in terms of targets, especially as we do wait for the Bitcoin having to kind of be more or less that direction confirmation indicator. So we should be looking at a pretty exciting upcoming week up ahead. A lot does depend on the global situation though as well. So we are going to be following the news closely. Make sure you do stay updated on Twitter, probably posting plenty of updates about that as well. But otherwise, that actually is going to go ahead and wrap up our show on Solana, SOL on that ticker. Hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you have not done so just yet. Do appreciate all the continued love and support, as always does mean so much. Make sure to drop me a comment down in the sections below, but otherwise, that is it. Stay safe, take care, and I will catch you back in the next video.